Abba-dabby dude! Hi there, this is Abba-dabby dude. Welcome back to the third and final part of our Britain's Strongest Women road trip. And we've just not long stopped at Norton Keynes Services. Had yet another successful Ecotricity top-up. This one was just a zap and dash because we wanted to stop anyway, so not a long charging stop, but completely successful yet again. Quick coffee and visit to the bathroom, and we're on our way northbound, and let's hope the Ecotricity successes continue. Thanks for joining me. Sit back, relax, and let's enjoy the long drive home. Right, we've had a coffee, had a top-up, both of coffee and electricity. Had a bit of a wander around that e-tron that was parked next to me at the service station, which was nice to see. And just as we were driving off, the owner came back, so I stopped and had a quick chat with him about it. He seems to like it. That was his first time public charging, he said, so he was completely unprepared, didn't have any of the apps on his phone or anything, so he'd quickly sort all that out before he plugged his car in, which I still maintain is a bit of a barrier to entry for people. Nobody's used to it, you know. What people really want, I think, is just to be able to tap your credit card, plug your car in and go. You know, all this having an app for every provider, and it's fine for techie people that are really into the ins and outs of the car and enjoy messing around with apps, but for people that are just driving from one place to another, really it's a pain. It really is. And most of them, I think, most people would rather just pay with a contactless debit card, which is easy for me to say. So yeah, but it was quite nice to have a chat with him, see what he thought about the car. He was saying that the cameras takes a little bit of adjusting to looking down rather than out of the window to see what the rear view cameras are showing. But he said you just get used to it like anything. His commute is very short, so he only does like 20 miles a day commuting. So he said the range really isn't an issue for him. This is his first time driving a long distance with it, so his first time public charging, and he said it was fine, so he seemed really happy with his car. It was nice, it was bigger than I expected it to be, and yeah, I'm still happy with my choice though. I think the I-Pace looked the better of the two sat next to him. Sorry if you're watching, still a nice car though. So yeah, I haven't had a think about the charging now. That top-up, while we waited, the service station was quite busy, so it took us a little while to have a pee and a coffee. We just had a takeaway, but it still took a little while to get served. So we ended up at 81% when we left, just by plugging in while we were there anyway. So see, in this instance, ABC actually makes sense for different reasons to my normal ABC. If you're stopping, you might as well plug in. I was quite happy that I got in before the e-tron though, because he would have taken the only CCS charger probably if he'd had the option. As it was, he was charging on AC. I'm not sure what they can get out of AC actually, the e-trons. I'm not sure if they can get, you know, the 22 kilowatts or whatever they charge at on those Ecotricity ones, but sadly only one of the two had CCS. So again, sorry, beat you to it. But at least I think if he can, at least they can get the 22 kilowatts out of the AC. Us I-Pace drivers are stuck with 7 if we plug into an AC charger, so they're effectively useless on the road, those. But yeah, having got up to that level, we're only going to have to make one charging stop really, and I've decided I'm not going to bother. My original plan was to stop at a Polar, partly because I've never used Polar, but it was a little bit off the motorway, not far, but a little bit off the motorway, and then I was going to stop at an Instavolt because I just needed a quick top up for the last bit, because that Polar was too early on in the journey, you know, to make it all the way home without charging again. However, two things worked in our favour. First of all, we ended up setting off with 74% from the hotel, where I was guessing that we were going to be down around 50 by the time we'd driven around for the weekend. But we didn't end up using the car over the weekend, so we set off at 74%, and then the top up there, which was unexpected or unplanned, and certainly didn't expect to be quite as long as that. I mean, it was only about 15-20 minutes, but it was longer than I thought it was going to be. That took us up to 80%, so we can get well north now before we have to charge. So we'll just stop at an Ecotricity, and I'm not even going to really plan it. I'm just going to keep going, and when the range gets down, I'll find the next services and stop. I'm going to treat it like driving an ice car today. I'm just going to drive until I need fuel, and then I'm going to stop and put some fuel in. And yeah, that service station, if we top up to, you know, going by the range we've got, is 235 miles to home, and I've got 135 miles in the car. So if we top up, or, you know, it's not so much of a top up, if we charge up at one of the later northbound service stations on Ecotricity, we'll have more than enough to get home. So yeah, I'm not gonna worry about it, not gonna plan it, not going to overly think it through. I'm just going to drive and stop when it suits. But yeah, the whole Ecotricity experience has taught me that you can just take an EV on the motorways here in Britain without really overly planning it. Scotland's a bit different actually, because I think quite a few of the Ecotricities in Scotland only have CHAdeMO and AC. I think there's quite a few that don't have the second charger installation with a CCS on it, so that probably needs a bit more planning from that perspective. But certainly England, if you're travelling on the motorways in England in your I-Pace, I really wouldn't worry about Ecotricity. Whatever problems they had, and they obviously did, because there was so much publicity about it, it can't have been made up, and it can't have been isolated incidents. They must have had a genuine problem. But now I've plugged into 5 different chargers. Actually no, I've used that one before. So I've plugged into 4 different chargers, but had 7 charging sessions out of those 4 chargers and not had a single problem. So I think it's fairly safe to say that Ecotricity in England certainly is something you can do without having to plan at all, which is very useful and handy. You know, that's what you want. That's what you want from your car. Scotland needs a bit of work, but it'll get there. It'll get there. So yeah, that's the general plan. In fact, the general plan is not to have a plan. In fact, so yeah, I'm just going to drive. I'll speak to you probably when we make our next charging stop, unless anything interesting happens in the meantime. That's the speed camera warning on the Jag, that double beep that you keep hearing. So yeah, just having a look, just passing a that was an I-Pace I think on that transporter. Just passing a transporter full of Range Rovers, and I think there was a Jaguar I-Pace on the bottom deck, but It was just a very quick glimpse, so I might have misidentified that one. So yeah, I will carry on with the drive, and I'll see you in a bit. Not sure when I'll speak to you, but probably around about when we decide to charge. Till then, bye for now.
Just back, so I finally learned to fall. Left to cry for the fun of it. Now I finally see the light. Don't wanna waste a single minute. Now I finally got you by my side. So let's hit the ground. Hit the ground.
Okay, off we go, and we decided to stop at Tebe services, so we made it all the way to the Lake District without having to recharge, which is pretty impressive stuff, to be honest. And straight to the Ecotricity. Now we're down at 10% battery, so there is a very real possibility that if this doesn't work, we're screwed. But that was a bit of a conscious decision on my part. Okay, car's connected, initialization's beginning. As I say, I've had so many good experiences. I kind of wanted to make it to Tebe because it is such a good motorway services. I never thought I'd say that about any motorway services, but it's really nice. proper home cooked food, nice little shop, and it's in the Lake District, and there's quite a nice view. The southbound one's actually much better, but even northbound, you know, nice. It's a nice location. So yeah, there we go. We are charging. Another success for Ecotricity, and this is one that I haven't used before. So, what can I say? Ecotricity is the way forward, and I never thought I would be saying that. So anyway, I'm probably going to have to restart it because I suspect this one's going to time out before I finish my charge. We're a bit, well, having said that, we're 130 miles from home, so and we're at 10%. So 130 miles, well, 70% would do, 80%, 70, oh, I can't work it out. We might need an extra 5 minutes beyond the timeout though. But anyway, we're charging, painless, easy, simple. This is how it should be. This is so how it should be. So yeah, we'll go into the services, grab something to eat, have a pee, and by the time we're done, we should be charged up. See you on the final leg of the trip on the way home, because we shouldn't have to charge again after this. See you then. Right, well, we are on our way back to the car now. We've eaten. I do love this service station, and I got it wrong. Northbound also has a nice little seating area by a duck pond, as you can see here. And the food is all fresh cooked on site. It's home cooking, and none of it's processed, shipped in, frozen, defrosted and microwaved. It's proper food. Very nice, very wholesome, and yeah, for the motorway services anyway, it's well above the normal standard, put it that way. So, so I like to stop here when I can. The charge has gone painlessly again, so we're about to head back to the car. We're just over 80%. I think by the time we get to the car we'll be around 81, 82%, and then yeah, that's more than enough to get home. That gives us about roughly 160, 170 miles of range, and then when we get you know, we got about 130 left to go, so we make it home with plenty of spare mileage left in the car. Cross over the road. So yeah, we'll get back in the car. That's my little review of Tibet services. If you get a chance to come here, I would recommend it. And yeah, I'm gonna stop the charge now. We'll get in the car, and then we'll talk to you, or I'll talk to you again once we get a bit closer to home, and we will sorry, let me just open the car for Mrs. Abu Dhabi Dude. Yeah, I'll talk to you again once we get a bit closer to home and do a little roundup of the whole trip for the weekend. It's been quite a new type of adventure. I'm just looking at the dashboard and we're at 85%, so loads of mileage. And the good thing, again, it didn't take any extra time, because one of the other reasons I like this station is that it has a little farm shop associated with it. It's got, as well as the restaurant, you know, so just, you can kill a bit of time here without it feeling like you're trying too hard to kill some time here. So so yeah, there we go. Another totally successful Ecotricity charge. I've got to say, I'm utterly impressed with them. I came out of I started out on this trip expecting to hate them, and I have come to absolutely love them. They're brilliant, can't fault them, despite all the bad press they've had. But we'll cover that in the roundup at the end. So speak to you one last time on the way home.
My frame of mind, my heart is stuck in a loop of your rhythm and right. I tried to replace you with something new. he drives heartbreak along the ground, dancing about the idea of you, whilst you decide if I belong to lost and found. You know I'm dying to reach out to you. I'm trying but you can't see. You say my calls never come through. Why can't you just hear me? I'm crying 'cause I can't feel you. My heart's sinking to my feet. I'm lying 'cause I can't touch you. Why can't you just hear me? It seems to have impact on me. I feel pain every time you cry. You say you'll be back before I know it. Why'd you always lie? I tried to get on with somebody that's not you, whilst I hide the pain that sits before my eyes, dreaming about the idea of you, whilst you decide if I fall or if I fly. You know I'm dying to reach out to you. I'm trying but you can't see. 'Cause say my calls never come through. Why can't you just hear me? I'm crying 'cause I can't feel you. My heart's sinking to my feet. I'm lying 'cause I can't touch you. Why can't you just hear me? You know I'm dying to reach out to you. I'm trying but you can't see. 'Cause say my calls never come through. Why can't you just hear me? I'm crying 'cause I can't feel you. My heart's sinking to my feet. I'm lying 'cause I can't touch you. Why can't you just hear me?
Alrighty, so we are on the final bit of the journey now. We've come off the motorway, we're back into scenic Scotland with a bit of greenery, although it's hard to see it through the rain, if I'm honest. And yeah, time for a quick roundup of the weekend's events. What a lovely weekend it's been for a start. It's also been a trip of two halves. In the way down was meticulously planned, and the way back was much more winging a prayer. I'll come on to that in a minute, but let's first talk about the reason for the trip, which was, of course, Britain's strongest woman, and my goddaughter Emma Jane Smith came 4th out of the whole of Britain, just 1 point away from that podium position. She really did amazingly well, and some of that stuff, like the deadlift that was for repetitions, that was a personal best weight for her. Even as a one-off, that was her personal best. So she was pushing herself really hard there, and to do so well is amazing. So well done, EJ, you made us all proud. And yeah, back to the iPace stuff then. On the way down, it was planned very carefully as usual, partly because I'm used to having to plan very carefully with Charge Place Scotland, as you know. So I had it all planned out with that process in mind, but also because the internet is rife with horror stories about ecotricity, and it's absolutely shocking, and the government should step in and take away their right to have, you know, the motorway service stations and stuff. And I have to say, that probably was true at some point, but they've obviously worked hard and corrected whatever issues they were having, because my iPace now on this trip has used 5 of them with no issues. But anyway, that was the reason I planned it so carefully, because I did not expect ecotricity to work properly. So originally, when I first started planning the trip down, I planned to go off route a bit and go to an Instavolt. I think I actually ended up with 3 charging stops because of it. I think there was an Instavolt and 2 Polars or something like that, from memory. And then I kind of looked at it and I thought, actually now there's a Polar here, I can make that Polar. That was the Carnforth one, I think it was. You know, I can comfortably make that Polar on 100% charge. And I thought, right, let's take, and that was, I worked that out because I switched to the What's Up app to have a quick review of my journey down. And it lists all the chargers that are within 2.5 miles of your route, so you can quickly flick through. It's a nice feature. So I found that Polar that was at, I think it was 162 or 166 miles, something like that, and I thought, well, I know I can reach that, so why don't I set that? So then I switched, and I used that Polar and a later Polar, so I cut it down to 2. And then I thought, actually, when I look at it, each one of these Polars is adding about 15 to 20 minutes to my journey time. So how about this as an alternative plan? I'll stop at the Ecotricity before that Polar, you know, the last Ecotricity before the exit that I would have to take to go to that Polar. And that way I can try it. If it's either really slow or doesn't work, then it's cost me nothing more than a minute or 2 to find that out, and then I can still go to the Polar and add 15 minutes to the route. So then I ended up doing that, so I did the same for the second stop. So basically I planned for 2 Ecotricity stops, but then I had a Polar, actually 2 Polars as backups. Actually no, I tell a lie, there was an Instavolt and a Polar at the first charging stop right next to each other, and then there was a Polar for the second charging stop. So that was all my backups. And then I also decided to do the old ABC thing of, if we're stopping for a pee or a coffee, why not plug in anyway, even if we're only there 5 minutes? So I did that. So by the time I got down there, I'd stopped 4 times, plugged into 4 different Ecotricities, and they all just charged, and they all charged me at 43, 42 kilowatts. It was like the complete opposite of all the publicity that I'd heard about Ecotricity. So for the journey back, I thought, hang on, sorry, I've just realised, have I got in time? Yes. Forgot to mute the sat nav again, but I managed to cut her off in time this time. That showed her who's boss. So yeah, I decided for the journey back, where I had originally planned it, and I thought just to give a bit of variety for me as well, I decided to mix it up a bit, and this time no Ecotricities. I was going to stop at a Polar Obviously it's not on the motorway, but it wasn't far off. It was probably only quarter to half a mile off the motorway. And then a second stop at an Instavolt, which was likewise quite close to the motorway. I needed to do 2 stops because first of all I was expecting to set off with about, whoa, that's a big puddle. I was expecting to set off with around 50% from the hotel state of charge, but I ended up with about 74%, I think it was. So I knew I could get a lot further before having to charge, which meant the Polar wasn't really being very efficient because I was going to stop at Polar and then have to stop again at Instavolt. Now for a 310 mile journey, an I-Pace can get away with stopping once. Simple. So after a bit of umming and ahhing, I replanned, or I didn't replan, I just binned the plan and decided, no, Ecotricity was great on the way down, they're going to be great on the way back. So I am going to not plan it. I thought I'm just going to go until I get down to, let's say, below 20%, and then when I get to 20%, I'm just going to stop at the next services with an Ecotricity and charge up. So that's what I did. I ended up getting down to 10%, or was it 11 maybe, I think, when I stopped at the charger. But it worked first time. You know, it's how it's supposed to be. It's how Tesla drivers have been doing it for years. So drove till I got to 10%. I mean, I did do a quick stop before that, but it wasn't a charging stop as such. It was a zap and dash because we were stopping anyway. I wanted a coffee. Obviously, Mrs. Abu Dhabi Dude wanted a pee. Wow, I didn't get slapped that time. And yeah, so, you know, as before, might as well plug in because it saves us some time charging wherever we do end up stopping. It also meant we actually could go that little bit further before having to stop. But it wasn't a big deal. We had more than enough range to get home. You know, we could do it without having to make 2 stops, just making 1 stop. But by stopping for what was effectively a free charge in terms of time, it just increased our options a bit more. And it meant that when we stopped finally, I only charged up to 80% instead of having to charge to 90%. You know, it's not a huge deal. It's not a, you know, it doesn't change anything massively, but it cuts down your charging stop because you're stopping anyway and you're using that time to charge up while you're there. So anyway, yeah, so that stop aside, which you can discount because it doesn't really count as a charging stop, yeah, we've stopped once, and we just kept going. And I found a useful trick as well on the sat-nav. If you switch the sat-nav, if you press the little icon on the bottom left of the sat-nav screen, it looks like a square sitting on top of another square. If you press that, it takes you to an options menu where you can show extra things to show on your screen. If you tap the one that says, I can't remember if it's route remaining or remaining route, I think it's route remaining. If you press that, what it does is on your sat-nav screen, it shows you the right 2/3 of your screen is the normal sat-nav display, but the left third is replaced with a little panel showing all of the route that you've got left. But what it also does is just next to the icon for your location, for where your car is, it's got a little coloured rectangle and it shows your exact state of charge at that time. So you're not just relying on the guessometer on your dashboard and the little bar, which isn't very precise. You get your exact percentage in a number on the sat-nav display. So, and it's handy to know. So like if you want to stop after 20%, just have that up there. You can see when it gets to exactly 20% and then stop at the next services. It's also color coded, so it goes yellow. It's green, and when it gets to 20 it goes yellow, and I'm kind of assuming, it's just an assumption, that it will then go to red probably below 10%, I would guess. But yeah, so that's handy. It's a useful little tip which I just picked up by by accident really on this trip. So yeah, all told, it's been a great, thoroughly enjoyable weekend. The car has been an absolute blessing again. I've had it in semi-autonomous mode, call it what you like, adaptive cruise control with cruise steer assist pretty much the whole time, and it's almost never required me to take over from it. One time in horrendous rain it did, and obviously on the sort of country roads for the first bit of the way down and where I'm coming up to for the last bit of the way home, I'm assuming, I know I'm going to have to drive them manually, but that's not what it's designed for. It's really designed for sort of motorway dual carriageway type driving, and for the whole motorway leg of the journey, it's been driving itself effectively with just me keeping my hands on the wheel and monitoring it. So yeah, the car has made the miles just whiz past. It's painless, it's easy, it's so comfortable, and and the range again, I keep going on about the range, but that everybody goes on about range when they talk about EVs. And the range, I've had a reliable, and bear in mind this trip has been almost 100% motorway driving. It's been a reliable 210 miles with wet roads and quite horrendous rain at some points, and we've had the AC running pretty much the whole time, and we were even using the cooled seats at one point for quite a while. So honestly, the range is just not an issue. I've had it in eco mode. I always put it in eco mode for these trips. It doesn't make that much difference, but it does make the adaptive cruise control accelerate a bit less harshly, so it takes it a little bit easier on the power when it's accelerating back up to speed after it's slowed down for cars. So it's again, keep saying it, but the car has been perfect, and on this trip the charging has been perfect. This has been a great example of how EV driving should be, can be, and will be everywhere someday. The one thing we need is faster chargers now. I think we do need a network on the motorways at least of 150 kilowatt chargers. I think that's got to be the next step for the UK. Although it wasn't a great inconvenience to me, on the way down I think we had to stop for we had to wait for an extra 10 minutes, 15 minutes I think it was on the way down there, because the car hadn't finished charging. But on the way up this trip, we haven't had to spend any extra time waiting at all, because wifey wanted to wander around the shop at the service station, and that took up the extra 10 minutes anyway. So in our case, because we were having quite a leisurely trip anyway, the 100 kilowatts wouldn't have made a massive difference, but it's not every stop where you want to spend 20 minutes wandering around the service station shop really. So I think that's got to be the next step for the general populace, has to be some faster chargers on the motorway network now. But other than that, that's a very small criticism of what's turned out to be a very good charging experience this weekend. What else did I have to say? You think of anything that's come up?
Me?
No, one of the other 100 people in the car. Yes, you. No, I'm guessing that's a no.
No.
Right. So, yeah, we've had a very simple, painless, easy weekend. Simple, painless, easy drive. The drive down was probably more complicated, but that's because I overplanned it. Based on past experience, that seemed like the logical thing to do. On the way back up, I've just not planned it at all, to be honest, and it's worked. We're here. We're on the last leg home. We're going to get home with about 40 miles of range, so that's about 20%, which is what I was aiming for all along. So, you know, which is a buffer. So I could have actually spent a little less time charging if I'd wanted to. But as I say, we spent that long charging. We ended up at 85% because of the time we wanted to be at the service station anyway. So where I was going to charge to 80, we ended up at 85. So you can see what I'm saying, that the charging isn't really as inconvenient as you think it's going to be before you have an EV. Oh yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say, was it was really nice to see that e-tron as well and have a proper snoop around on it, and kind of see what I thought of it. I do prefer the I-Pace, I have to say. I think it's a much more stunning looking car, and I preferred the interior on the I-Pace. Obviously my first edition has got all the leather bits and stuff, which a lot of the I-Paces don't have. I don't think even the HSE's got as much leather as this on it. So maybe that would have altered my opinion if I had a different I-Pace, if you see what I mean. But I did think the interior didn't look as nice on the e-tron. But yeah, that was quite nice. I've had a few discussions with people. It's been quite a talking point at some points over the weekend at some of the service stations and stuff. Just people coming up and like inspecting the car and wanting to talk about the car. While I was snooping around the Audi, there was a couple came and chatted to my wife about the I-Pace, and yeah, it's you know, they do generate quite a lot of interest, which is, I think there's a lot of people out there, there's a lot of pent-up interest, and there's a lot of people interested in EVs but don't know that much about them, so they take the opportunity to ask when they see somebody. That's been my experience anyway, and I think most people have found that when they've got an EV. So yeah, I'm quite happy to spread the good news. I mean, the guy at the last service station, obviously everyone asks about the range, and when I said 230 miles, 210, 20, 30 miles depending on where you're driving, he was like, wow. I mean, he was stunned. So there's a lot of people out there that still think that EVs have got a 100-mile range, and it's just not the case anymore. So yeah, that's pretty much everything we've experienced over the weekend, and I just want to say thanks to Ecotricity, because you've turned my opinion round. I mean, my opinion was based on hearsay, but you've completely turned my opinion round, and I fully get you as a company now, and I think it's what they do is brilliant. I've no idea if they have plans to install faster chargers now. I've not heard that about Ecotricity. It would be nice if they did, but yeah, I've been very, very impressed with them. Other than that, really, all that's left to say is, if you have enjoyed the video, then click on like down below, the little thumbs up. If you want to leave a comment, I'll happily respond to any and all of them. And if you do want to subscribe, that's always helpful to me. If you do subscribe, click on the bell, and you'll get notifications every time I upload a new video, so you won't miss anything going forwards. If you do want to subscribe, you can do that now by clicking on my ugly little face over there, and don't forget to check out any other videos on my channel like this one up here. Till next time, this is Abu Dhabi Dude saying so long, take care, see you soon, bye. Abu Dhabi Dude.